Alright guys, today we're gonna be reacting to Crazy German's Law, 6 surprising things that are forbidden in Germany. Man, in the last couple videos I have seen so much regarding Germany's laws that sometimes I'm like confused. But at the same time you can see their society and somehow it makes sense. We're gonna just react to Felicia. Great content creator when it comes down to German content. We just gonna simply jump in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Also for donations, links in the description, or simply just do a super chat. And for more recommendations like these, go to my Discord. Links in the description. Let's jump in.
US, but illegal in Germany? It's common in the US, but illegal in Germany? Here are 6 crazy German laws that you should know about. Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Felicia. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio on and off since 2016. Now, whenever people here in the US find out that I'm German, they usually ask me a bunch of questions, and one thing that I get asked a lot is if Germans are really as obsessed with rules and laws as they're often portrayed. And my answer is usually, not every single German loves rules, of course, but yes, overall, following rules is definitely something that is valued a lot in Germany, and Germans like to
we saw in one of the last videos. Ooh, they're tight, man. Some of these laws are tight.
Have regulations and laws for almost everything. However, some of those laws can be really surprising and funny, and that's why today I'll tell you guys about 6 crazy German laws. Now, of course, I'm not going to make you read any long, complicated, wordy laws in German in this video. But if you wanted to be able to read and understand those laws, I would recommend learning German on Babbel, which is today's sponsor. Since school has started again and the year is slowly coming to an end, I've been getting more and more messages from you guys asking about my tips on learning a language, which is why I'm very glad to be collaborating with Babbel. Of course, German is one of the coolest languages you can learn, no question, and Babbel was actually founded in Berlin, but you can choose from a total
I'm using Duolingo. Some of these software that a lot of these people do promote sound kind of fun, so that's good to know.
Of 14 languages on the app, so if you want to learn Italian or French or Portuguese instead, you can do that. The best thing is that Babbel is not just about vocabulary lessons. You can do topic-related lessons, like where you'll learn what to say at the bakery, which, as you might know, is pretty essential in Germany.
A lot of bakery.
Very important sentence. Ich möchte ein Brötchen.
Brötchen.
Was kostet eine Brezel?
Eine Brezel kostet 2 Euro. Noch etwas?
Nein, danke.
But you can also listen to podcasts on Babbel and just have it play while you're cooking or walking your dog. You can play games on the app or take one of their new virtual life classes.
Damn.
I saw a German life class called Über Serien und Filme sprechen, for example, so talking about series and movies, which is definitely something that will come in handy when talking to Germans in real life. I know that many of you had learning a new language as one of their New Year's resolutions, and you may not have fully started that yet, but I have great news for you because with Babbel you can start speaking a language in just 3 weeks, and you can actually get up to 65% off.
Nah, 3 weeks? Nah.
If you click on the link in the info box
she almost
below,
had me
which
sold
means it's
here,
less than $5 a month to learn a language.
3 weeks for Django? Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Now, law number 1, it's illegal to run out of fuel on the Autobahn. As most of you probably know, the Autobahn is Germany's interstate system. If you want to learn more about it, you can check out these 2 videos. And when it comes to driving, there are indeed a lot of regulations that you have to follow as a driver in Germany. Like
That's
your car
insane.
has to pass inspections every 2 years.
Wow, that's insane, man. I cannot fathom that one. That's insane.
Called TÜV, otherwise you're not allowed to drive on the streets. You also have to have certain equipment like a first aid kit and warning vests in your car, and in the winter it's mandatory to have winter tires on your car. And yes, you're also obligated to always have enough gas in your tank as a driver, and if you don't and actually run out of gas on the Autobahn, you can be fined and might have to pay 25 up to 120 euros, since this is considered
Wow.
preventable. And in general, it's also illegal to stop or park on the Autobahn, even in the emergency lane. I mean, unless your vehicle is actually breaking down, but even then, you won't see a lot of cars just left there on the side of the Autobahn. Whereas in the US, you regularly see broken down vehicles on the side of the interstate that were just basically parked there. And of course, since most places in the US don't use radar traps to enforce speed limits, but have cops pull people over instead, you'll often also see a car that was pulled over and also a cop car behind it in the emergency lane as well. On the German Autobahn, that would actually be considered jeopardizing the road safety, especially since on many parts of the Autobahn there is no speed limit, so people are
Well,
going crazy.
the thing is that we don't have autobahns here. So I'm confused with the explanation. I'm guessing, what about in an interstate, like a regular road that is not autobahn? If the police stop you, is it jeopardizing? Or, you see what I'm saying? Like, but she's saying autobahn, but we don't have autobahn here in the United States.
Crazy fast. Fun fact, apparently this also became illegal in a small town here in Ohio earlier this year.
Really?
In Youngstown, which is close to Cleveland, so don't do it there either. Number
Wow,
2,
really?
it's not allowed to name your baby Superman. Now this one isn't technically a law and you won't get fined for this, but fact is, and this is usually hard to believe for Americans, that in Germany you can't just give your baby any name you want. It'll have to
Really?
be approved by the local Standesamt, like the civil registration.
But you know what's crazy? I like that because that way you can just keep the culture. It's all about conservatism, man. There's a lot of influence outside, man. In the outside world, there's a lot of influences. So I'm not even surprised Germans want to keep some of that culture in, man.
Office, and there are rules as to what you can and can't name your kid. I mean, of course there are rules for that. It's Germany. We pretty much have a rule for everything. Now,
Seems like
whether
it.
the name you picked for your baby will be approved or not depends on different things, such as whether it's a name that actually exists, whether it'll be a reason for bullying later on in the child's life, and sometimes they also don't accept
Good
names
point.
that aren't obviously
Hey, good point, man. That is actually a good point. I'm not against that. That is actually a good point. Don't name your kid with the name that he's gonna get bullied, man. Don't do that.
a female or a male name, which this last one is kind of ridiculous if you ask me. Here are just some examples of names that have been rejected before. Waldmeister, Junge, which just means boy, Rosenherz, so rose heart, Bierstübe, so kind of like a beer pub, Satan, or Satan in German, McDonald's, Superman, Pain, Gucci, Whiskey, or the last names of politicians like Schröder, which was Germany's chancellor before Merkel, or Lenin. And since I already see all these question marks pop up in your guys' eyes, no, you won't be able to call your kid Hitler either. Even
I was not even thinking about that, to be honest. I was not even thinking about that, but the fact that you said it, it seemed like people want to do it. That's crazy. You can name your kid Hitler. It's a German name, right?
though the first name Adolf is technically allowed. These rules are one of the reasons why you won't find a lot of crazy first names in Germany, and also why Germans are often very fascinated by what American celebrities name their kids. Number 3, deny the Holocaust. Now, this one doesn't necessarily fit into a list of crazy or funny laws, because I think it's neither of those. However, many people from outside of Germany and outside of Europe aren't aware of this and find it a very interesting law when they first hear about it. It's illegal in Germany to deny the Holocaust.
That's
so you can't just say that the crimes...
Bro, I'm not denying the Holocaust, but the fact that you... Oh, man, I don't know, man. I just don't know. I know why you guys have that law, but... Man... That's insane, bro. I don't even agree with the premise. That denying the Holocaust, or that it didn't happen. But why you have to make it illegal, man? That sounds bad.
of the Holocaust didn't happen. If you do, you can either get fined for it, or you can actually get prison time of up to 5 years. Now,
Prison time? Prison time? don't you guys think that's a little bit too much?
Read many comments on the internet saying that this indicates that Germany doesn't have freedom of speech. Well, that's not true. We do have freedom of speech, Meinungsfreiheit, as a fundamental right in Germany. However, freedom of speech can be limited by other general laws, by provisions for the protection of young persons, Jugendschutzgesetz, and another person's right to personal honor. Those general laws.
Damn, personal honor? I believe in honor, but that's kind of subjective. Honor. So there's no freedom of speech. Hey, listen, freedom of speech is freedom of speech, man. You cannot say freedom of speech, but you cannot say da 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 da. You can't do that, man. The only I'll meet you in the middle if you wanna say I'm gonna throw a bomb in a group of people. I understand you're gonna cause a little harm to a lot of people. I understand that. Because you're gonna cause a harm, right? You have to prevent the harm. Outside of that, man, like I don't know, man.
Laws, which are like the first example of
Because
what
the problem is, if saying there's a law that protect freedom of speech is one thing, but having the freedom of speech is another thing. She said, yeah. She said, that's not true. We have this in law. That's so German. I don't know why, but that is kind of German. Having it in law, it's like having illegal guns, right? It's having illegal guns doesn't mean that there's a law that is against illegal guns. You see, people still get it, but there's a law that you cannot get guns illegally. Killing is illegal, but there's a law, all right? So not because it is a law makes it a real thing. Does that make sense?
can limit
Maybe
the
just
freedom
going a
of
little
speech cannot be
too
laws
deep.
that just discriminate against one specific opinion. They have to be neutral and they have to protect another
Oh
legal
my
right.
God. They have to be neutral, so we cannot go in them back and forward? Come on, guys. Come on, man. So you're telling me that it has to be neutral. Let me just go back.
One specific opinion, they have to be neutral and they have to protect another legal right. In this case, the right that they're
I don't know. I'm just going to leave it like that.
protecting is the dignity of the Holocaust victims and their families, which is something that we value very, very highly in Germany, because after World War II, when the Federal Republic of Germany was founded, the very first paragraph of our constitution, the Grundgesetz, became human dignity shall be inviolable. To respect and protect it shall be the duty of all state authority. So that's why denying the Holocaust is illegal in Germany, even though we do have freedom of speech, and it's also illegal in 16 other countries. Number 4, it's forbidden to mow the lawn on Sundays or play piano at midnight. Germans like silence. This is something you'll notice if you're ever in Germany, especially if you come from a louder culture like the American one. Germans tend to speak pretty quietly, especially in public. And we also appreciate having some peace and quiet at home, which is why there are tons of laws and regulations about how much noise you're allowed to make and when. Sundays and public holidays have actually been defined as rest periods, Ruhezeiten, for the whole day, which means that you're not allowed to make loud noises that could disturb others. This includes mowing your lawn or using a drilling machine, for example. So if you were trying to do some renovations at home, not on Sundays. This also applies to nighttime rest periods, which usually start at 8 p.m. and sometimes even to lunch hours. The rules for the lunch hours usually vary though, depending on where in Germany you live, and some rules will even be made by the house management of your apartment.
So hold on. So you go. So there's a lunchtime if you. What happens if you don't have the lunchtime at the time that's indicated by law?
Court of Justice has even ruled that playing an instrument in rental apartments is only allowed at certain times, from 8 a.m. to noon and from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. And even then, you can only practice for a certain amount of time. Piano players only get up to 2 hours per day, and drummers, for example, get 45.
Wow. Man, I used to play my instrument for 8 hours a day, practicing. Wow.
minutes in the summer and 90 minutes in the winter. Yes, German laws are very specific. Number 5, it's not allowed to keep urns at home.
How serious you guys take these laws, man? Because these laws can go kind of crazy, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit like, woohoo. Wow, those laws are crazy.
This topic doesn't really come up a lot in conversations in everyday life, fortunately, but the Germans among you may have wondered about this when watching American movies before, because in the US, it's pretty common that after a loved one dies, you take the urn home with you. I've definitely seen this in movies and shows before where either it's part of a comedic moment because someone doesn't realize that it's an urn, or, of course, it's part of a drama. Well, that's something that you won't ever see in Germany because we have a law called Friedhofszwang, cemetery compulsion, that says that any mortal remains have to be buried at a cemetery, or alternatively, after a cremation, you can have a sea burial in Germany as well. Now, in the past few years, the rules have been lifted a little in different states. In Bremen, for example, it's now allowed to spread ashes on privately owned property, but you're still not allowed to take the urn home with you. In general, there's pretty big differences when it comes to funerals and cemeteries in Germany and the US. I've actually had the topic on my list for a while, so let me know if you'd want me to talk about that more in depth at some point. And number 6, you'll be punished for saying du to a cop. Okay, those of you who speak German probably understand this law right away, but for everyone else, du is the German word for you. Now, why would that be a problem if you use that with a cop?
Well, because you're not disrespecting the cop, but you're not being respectful, right? In Spanish, you'll be vos or usted instead of tú. Right, I understand.
Because in German, just like in other languages like French or Spanish, we have a formal and an informal
Informal, she's right.
address. So depending on what relationship you have with the person you're talking to, you'll use a different pronoun and also a different grammar structure when you talk to them. Du is the informal pronoun for you, while capital Z is the formal one. The formal one is usually used with people who are significantly older, strangers, people of authority, or just people that you have a professional relationship with. It really depends on the specific situation, but if it's not a child or someone you're close with, you usually don't use the informal address with them until you two allow each other to do so. Now, since police are people of authority and you speak to them in a professional context, you use the formal address with them, Sie. And if you don't, and use du with them instead, that can actually be viewed as insulting an official, Beamtenbeleidigung, because it's disrespectful and you may have to pay 600 euros for it. The actual fines are
Wow, man, they really take their laws kind of seriously, man. That's their law are wow. Man, this is completely new to me. Wow.
decided on a case-to-case basis, but this is one number I found. I also found that showing a cop the finger gets you up to 4,000 euros. Now, technically, insulting an official...
Well, it makes sense why a lot of these people in Germany are very respectful, man. I mean, you see their society, just very structured. Well, that's what it is. Making sure that these rules are followed and applied, that makes so much difference. So a lot of these things do make sense.
Official is just based on the general laws of not insulting others. There's no extra laws just about insulting officials, but I would assume that police enforce this much more than regular people do, so you should definitely be careful here. But also, I'm pretty sure that they would only enforce it if you obviously do it on purpose, and if they can tell that you're a non-native speaker and try to speak German with them and just make an honest mistake, I'm sure it's not a big deal.
That makes sense.
I have come across a few more very interesting German laws, like the ones about beekeeping, but maybe I'll mention those in the future at some point. For now, what other funny...
Man, this is crazy, bro. I'm not gonna lie. This is some crazy stuff. Ooh, some of these laws are kind of up there, man. I'm very out there. Very out there. The Holocaust one, that The police one. What was the other one? Some of these are insane. Playing the piano for 90 minutes? Bro, what's... Name your baby Superman. You can get a fine for that as well. Running out of fuel. But it's in the autobahn. I understand that one. If you know you're getting into the autobahn, hey. Wow. I don't know, man. What do you guys think about some of these laws? I'm guessing some of you guys will be okay with it. You're used to it. But then at the end, the point is, if it works, if it does work, let it be. You see what I'm saying? If it does work, it works. Now, if it doesn't work, now you have to ask some question. But seeing the result, it seems like it's work. It does work. Oof. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear you guys' opinion. I'll see you in the next one.